Hello, boys and girls. Thank you for joining me for Chapter 15, Closing In. This is a very exciting chapter, so I'm glad you joined me today. While Detective Bringenbach was on his way to the old Slade estate, the police were meeting with Officer Clyde Bliss and his sister, Clara May. Officer Bliss was out of uniform so as not to make Sonny suspicious. The plan was for them to talk to Sonny and investigate the situation while several other officers secretly move into the area on foot, waiting for their signal. Behind the old Slade estate, Jake and Emily had finally finished with the last of the honeysuckle nectar. Sonny came out of the house wearing protective gear to keep him from being stung by the killer bees. He took the headgear off and poured the nectar into a large container. He backed up the car and placed the container in the trunk. "Can we eat lunch now, Mr. Slade?" Jake asked. Sonny ignored him and held out his arm for his pet crow, Eduardo. The big black bird flew to him. "Work, kids, work!" the crow uttered as Sonny took him inside and set him back inside his bird cage. When Sonny returned to the backyard, Emily spoke up. "Please, Mr. Slade, our stomachs are growling. You said after we finished we could have some lunch." "We don't have time for that. Besides, you two don't deserve any special favors after snooping around last night." Mother Slade marched out the back door towards them. She, too, was wearing protective gear. She had duct tape and several pieces of rope in her hand. She passed a couple of pieces to Sonny, then walked toward Emily. Samson growled at Mrs. Slade and nipped at her ankles. Mother Slade kicked the pup across the yard. Sonny ran after him and yanked him up by the back of his neck. He walked over and threw Samson behind the fence with the chickens. "Leave our puppy alone," shouted Jacob. "Your puppy?" Sonny mocked. "You mean my puppy." Mother Slade grabbed Emily and started to tie her hands behind her back. "What are you doing?" Emily gasped. "What does it look like, you little brat?" retorted Mother Slade. Sonny grabbed Jacob. "Get off of me and my little sister!" Jake exclaimed angrily as he struggled to get free. "You two know too much," Mother Slade snarled. "You will be the first victims of our killer bees in Homestead." "No!" the children screamed. The Slades then put the tape over their mouths and tied up their feet as Jake and Emily continued to struggle. "Hold still or I'll throw that puppy in the killer beehive instead of the chicken yard," Sonny threatened. Frustrated and frightened, Jake and Emily submitted to the villain's command. He and his mother picked up the children and put them in the back seat of the car. Mother Slade sat in the front, guarding them closely. Sonny walked into the house to get the big screen pen that he and his mother had put the hissing cockroaches in that morning. The pen was in the living room in a corner. Just as he entered the room, someone knocked at the screen door. Sonny would have ignored them, but he knew they had seen him. He opened the door. "This is private property. How did you get in the front gate?" "Hey, buddy, how's it going? Remember us?" Clyde answered with a friendly voice. Sonny squinted, then opened his eyes wide. "Clyde? Clara May? What are you doing here?" "Aren't you going to invite us in?" Clara May asked with a smile. I can't. This is not a good time," Sonny replied nervously. "Oh, we can only stay for a minute," Clyde continued as he patted Sonny on the shoulder and walked in the front door. "What have you been up to all these years, Sonny?" Clyde looked over and saw the pen of hissing cockroaches. Good heavens! Why do you have all those giant roaches? It's an experiment. Remember? My dad was an entomologist. I have the same interest in insects. You must come back at a more convenient time. I'm very busy right now. I heard you bought a brand new red sports car. Why don't you show it to us? Clyde said as he started toward the dining room. Sonny tensely grabbed him. I said, I'm very busy. You're going to have to leave. Just then, Clara May noticed Eduardo in the huge bird cage and strolled over to look at him. What an interesting bird. Hello there, pretty boy, she said sweetly. Work, kids, work, the bird called out. Kids? Sonny, do you have children? Clara May inquired. Yes, Sonny lied, breaking out in a sweat. I thought you were a bachelor, Sonny, Clyde remarked. I am. I have, nieces and nephews, he answered nervously, wiping drool from his chin. I thought you were an only child, replied Officer Bliss. I mean, they seem like nieces and nephews because they're, so much younger. They're actually my cousins. Sonny pointed his crooked finger toward the front door. We really must get together sometime soon. It was nice of you to come to visit. Suddenly, a long, loud noise came from the backyard. Is that your car horn? Clyde questioned. My mother is out there with my niece and nephew. My cousins. They're probably misbehaving again. Well, we need to check it out. Something might be wrong, Clyde insisted as he and Clara May made their way hastily to the back door. No, Sonny argued as he grabbed Clyde, attempting to restrain him. As they stepped out onto the back porch, they saw Jake and Emily scuffling with Mother Slade in the car. The children had seen Clyde and Clara May pull up toward the house and were trying to get their attention. Officer Bliss ran to them while Sonny's mother locked the doors. He could see that the children were tied up and had duct tape over their mouths. Clara May, tell the police to come on in, Clyde ordered. Police? What kind of friends are you? Sonny screamed. The kind of friends who are trying to keep you from harming others, Clyde replied. Mother, carry on with our plan, Sonny yelled. Mother Slade started the car, but the children were kicking the seats forward so she couldn't drive. Just then, Detective Bringhamback and the other officers pulled up and surrounded the red sports car. They got out of their vehicles and surrounded the car. Mrs. Slade, ordered the detective, come out with your hands up and you won't be harmed. Worn out from the children kicking and struggling to escape, Mother Slade unlocked the door and got out with her hands up. Sonny quickly turned around and ran into the house. Detective Bringhamback and some other officers followed close behind. Sonny scrambled into the living room and opened the pen of the hissing cockroaches. Sick 'em, boys, he commanded. Several officers grabbed Sonny, wrestling him to the ground. Bringhamback handcuffed him and read him his rights. The roaches were scurrying all around, hissing at the policeman. One of the officers was smacking the roaches off the top of the pen, trying to close the door. They started stepping on the roaches that had escaped. The huge insects made an eerie crackling sound as they crunched them under their feet. What a mess, one of the officers exclaimed with disgust. I guess you would make a mess too if someone crunched you to the ground, Sonny cried. The policemen shook their heads and chuckled under their breath as they marched Sonny out to the backyard. As they were putting Mother Slade into a police car with her hands cuffed behind her back, she glared angrily at Clyde. So you're a policeman, eh? Some friend you turned out to be. I knew you uppity churchgoers couldn't be trusted. Ma'am, a true friend is not willing to allow someone to get away with wrongdoing. Kidnapping is a crime. Mother Slade spat on the ground. Don't speak to me, you traitor! Watch your head, Mrs. Slade, said the officer who was seating her in the police car. Detective Bringenbach and Clara May Bliss untied the children and removed the tape from their mouths. Mr. Slade and his mother have killer bees on their property, Jake reported. They were planning on luring them into Homestead to hurt people. Sonny overheard Jake as he was being escorted by two officers toward another police car. Don't listen to that little brute. He has a wild imagination. He's done nothing but cause trouble since he's been here, Sonny cried. It doesn't sound any wilder than hissing cockroaches, stated Bringenbach. And I'll take a wild guess that the protective gear you two are wearing isn't something you wear every day. We'll investigate and send out some exterminators. No, Sonny shrieked. It's not their fault. They're innocent victims. Clyde walked over toward him. Sonny, I'm appalled at how you look at things. You care more about insects than you do your fellow human beings. Why would you want to harm the people of Homestead? They deserve it. They treated me badly, Sonny cried. Nobody there cares about me. Clara May and I care about you. Don't you remember? We invited you to spend the night and to go to church with us. We had pizza together. We tried to come over, but your mother always ran us off. Besides that, there are hundreds of innocent citizens in Homestead who don't even know you. Did you ever think about them? Who gives you the right to send killer bees and giant hissing cockroaches into their town? Sonny cried out bitterly. You talk about God. Well, what about when he sent those plagues on Egypt? That's what I was trying to do, send a plague on Homestead. God commands us to love our neighbor as ourselves. You are not God. You are only a human being who will have to answer to him for your actions, Officer Bliss answered. You're the one who's supposed to be a Christian, Sonny yelled. You're not loving me as you love yourself by sending me to jail. The Lord gave people like policemen and judges the job of punishing lawbreakers, Clyde answered. Sonny, you have broke the law, and now you will be brought to justice. The two officers put Sonny in a separate police car and drove away. The detective looked at the children and smiled. All right, kids, he said. Homer Bringenbach is my name, and bringing you back home is my game. The children were relieved that it was all over. They gave Clara May a big hug. Then Emily started to cry. I'll ride with you, Detective, if you don't mind. I'd like to talk with the children and make sure they're okay. Of course, Miss Bliss, Bringenbach replied. You can call me Clara May, Miss Bliss said with a smile. The detective blushed. You can call me Homer, he said as he awkwardly cleared his throat. Okay, kids, let's get in the car. We should be able to meet your parents at the Friendlyville police station in 6 hours. Samson was still behind the fence with the chickens. He started jumping up and down, barking loudly. Ruff, 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 he repeated over and over. Translated into dog language, this means, hey, what about me? Emily ran over to the gate and opened it. Samson leaped into her arms, licking her face. Woo, he howled, meaning, we're saved. Detective, can we please have something to eat? Jake asked, holding his tummy. We're starving. Sure thing, kid. We'll stop at a drive-thru, and you two can have anything you want. Yay, Jacob and Emily cheered. Can Samson have a hamburger? Emily requested. Officer Bliss walked over to them. I have something better than that for you, boy, he said as he rubbed the baby Beagle's head. I'll give you some of the gourmet doggy burgers I keep in my car for my German Shepherd police dog. Samson barked and wagged his tail in anticipation. Thank you, the children cheered. Wow, finally, Jacob and Emily are rescued. Now for our reading comprehension questions. Okay, number 1. What was the policeman's plan to capture the kidnapper? Number 2. What did Clyde and Clara May see when they walked into Sonny's house? Number 3. What did Eduardo say that caused them to be suspicious? And why did that make them suspicious? Number 4. What were the children doing in the backyard? Number 5. What did Mother Slade say when she saw Officer Clyde Bliss? Number 6. Was Sonny Slade taking responsibility for his wrong actions? What did he say to Officer Bliss? And what do you think about that? Okay, so we have one more chapter and we will be finished with this first book. And the last chapter is chapter 16, Homecoming. Okay, thank you for joining me today.